Hello friends, this is Dr. Ritika Gauba, your PhD coach, mentor and guide. Today we are going to talk about an extremely important part of your thesis writing journey. A part which usually determines or marks the beginning of anybody's PhD journey. A part which usually determines your selection or your progress in your PhD program. Yes friends, we are going to talk about research proposal. Let us start by understanding what do these two terms separately mean, research and proposal. So research is ideally defined as the creation of new knowledge or using the existing knowledge in a new and creative manner so that you can come up with some new ideas, concepts, your new methods, the operative word being new. Proposal, on the other hand, has been defined as a plan or a suggestion that you put across others for consideration. This is an extremely formal document which is usually given in writing. So if we combine these two words, research proposal ideally means that it is your plan, your suggestion which you put across a university for consideration. And what do you put across? Is the new research idea that you're proposing, the new research knowledge that you propose to come out with using the university's resources. So ideally your research proposal should be extremely well structured. It is a professional document, so it should be very meticulously written. And it should be written in a manner that it convinces your university to select you or to let you progress to the next semester. Now, some universities ask for a research proposal right when you are filling up the application form, while the others would like to discuss your research ideas during your Viva and then will give you time to write a research proposal later on. However, the fact remains that a research proposal has to be written by every PhD candidate sooner or later. You have got brilliant ideas, research ideas, but if you cannot portray it, if you cannot write it brilliantly and express it brilliantly in a research proposal, the chances are that your university would not select you. So, in today's video, I'm going to tell you and give you 10 tips to write a good and brilliant research proposal. So now, without wasting any more time, let us start with our tip number 1, which is a strong literature review. Yes, literature reviews, when people hear literature review, they usually don't feel that excited about research. And the same thing I've felt when I'm talking to my research scholars and when I'm guiding them to write research proposals, they usually ask me, ma'am, why do we have to focus on literature review just now? Can't we wait till we get admission and when we actually start writing our chapters? But not at all. Literature review is the foundation of your research proposal and later on for your thesis as well. So doing a lot of literature review and then writing your research proposal is mandatory. How many literature sources should you quote or should you cite in your proposal? Only within your literature review, I think around 20 to 25 good citations, good quality paper citations should suffice. However, to give these 20 citations also you'll have to read a lot of literature. And remember, throughout your proposal, you have to cite different papers, and it is not only the part of literature review. From here, we move on to our second point, which is novelty. Remember the definition of research that I had given you? Creation of new knowledge. So if your research proposal does not show that you are creating a new knowledge, and if it is something that has been repeatedly done by several other researchers, then obviously it is not research. And then obviously there are high chances that your university would not prefer your research proposal over your other peers. From here we move on to our tip number 3, significance. You might have a very, very novel idea, but if it is that new research that you're doing and your findings in the end is not going to be significant for anybody, if it is not going to benefit anybody, if it is not important for either the academia or the industry, do you really think it is worthwhile to continue with that research? You know the answer. So from here, we move on to our tip number 4, which is thought through research methods. Now, I often, when I'm discussing the research proposals of my scholars and I'm guiding them to write these proposals, I often understand that they come up with new ideas which are extremely significant as well. But when I ask them that, how do you think you're going to measure this data? How do you think you're going to collect this data? That is when they get stuck. They usually don't think about this part while they are writing their research proposal. So when you're writing your research proposal, whatever you propose to do, understand how you're going to collect that data. You might be talking about measuring the sun and the moon, which might be extremely relevant. But how are you going to measure it is the important question. So thought through research method is your tip number 4. Now coming to the tip number 5 is the golden thread of alignment. Your research area, your title, your objectives, your research questions, your hypothesis, these are not individual parts of your research proposal. These are interconnected to each other, and therefore they should flow from one another. They should be in alignment to one another. They should be connected to one another. So that they should be so connected that if you are putting in a thread through one, it easily flows through the others. And that is why I've liked to call this tip as the golden thread of alignment. From here, we move on to our tip number 6, which is professional formatting. Do you ever go to an interview without being professionally dressed? Then why do you think about sending your proposal or any other formal document without properly formatting it? I have received several proposals. I have read several proposals where the students have completely forgotten to format the document. Remember, students, before we read the document, we see it. And when we see the document and we realize that it is not formatted, what do we think about the student who's sending it? We feel that the student is not committed, is not professional enough, is not sincere enough. They have not even taken out time to format this document. So a professionally formatted document is a must to show the university your level of commitment and sincerity towards this program. If the university has given you certain guidelines to format, please do follow that. Next tip is related to your spellings and grammar check. Giving a document at this level, at the PhD level, and that document having silly spelling and grammar mistake is a crime that you can commit. You should ideally read your document n number of times before sending it across to the university so that you ensure that there are no spellings and grammar mistakes. Apart from that, if you still want assistance, there are certain softwares and applications available online. Like your Grammarly is one good spell checker for you. You can use that and ensure that you have proper spellings and grammar in your document. The next is appropriate referencing. Yes, dear friends, www.google.com and Wikipedia are not referencing. Referencing ideally means that whatever papers you've read and you've cited in your research proposal, each and every of that citation, complete affiliation of that citation should be mentioned in your references. What do I mean by complete affiliation? So I would need in the references the name of the author, the year of publication, the journal name, the paper name, the volume, If it has any kind of, if there is a publisher, then the publisher name. If there is any online link to it, if you've accessed it through online, then even the date and the link of the online link and the date on which you have accessed it, everything should be mentioned in your references. It should be written in such a manner that if I want to pick up any paper that you've cited and I want to read it, I can use the reference that you've given and access that paper and retrieve that paper. If for convenience, and I would suggest everyone should do that, just choose a reference style. It could be APA or Chicago or IEEE or Harvard, whatever your university recommends and whatever you are comfortable with. You should choose that style in the very beginning and then use it throughout your referencing, and always try to do the referencing and your citation in similar reference style. You can also use a reference manager for your convenience. Okay, from here we move on to our next point, which is plagiarism checking, or check your plagiarism before you send your document. You might not have purposely done plagiarism, but there are sometimes chances that even when we pick up definitions and we do citations, plagiarism does creep in. So to be utmost certain, you should check your plagiarism before sending your document. Remember friends, any other mistake that you make, your university might be ready to forgive you. But if your research proposal has a high level of plagiarism, then there are chances that the university might debar you forever. So do not take any chances. There are paid softwares like Turnitin, which you can use if provided you have access to those paid softwares, or otherwise online also, like Grammarly has its own applications available. Then there is another application called SEO Small Tools. You can use these applications and you can check your plagiarism. We've also created a lot of videos on plagiarism. If in case any one of you is not familiar with this term, you can see our 4 videos on plagiarism. We've shared these links in the description box below. From here, we move on to the last tip of this video, which is follow the university guidelines. Believe me, it is extremely disheartening and unprofessionalism from the student's point of view if the university has taken the pains of giving you certain guidelines and you do not follow that guidelines. I have seen students that they just make one research proposal and they send it across all the universities. Even if some university has sent certain guidelines, they usually tend to ignore it, which is obviously not a very acceptable thing for the university where you are sending this proposal. To show your level of commitment to the university, you should always follow the university guidelines. If any one of you is looking for guidance, a professional guidance to how, and wants to know how to write a research proposal, wants to know how to do literature review, then you can contact me on the number given below. I am here to help you in your PhD journey. Dr. Ritika Gauba, your PhD coach, mentor and guide, always and forever. If you like what we are doing, then please do subscribe to our channel and like and share it. Empowering you with PhD journey, this is Dr. Ritika Gauba from Zenith PhD Training and Consulting.